Chloe Hanslip, we've got the concert coming up at the Royal in Derngate. I was looking at the programme. 3 favourites, 3 very well-known pieces, well-loved pieces, and I think you've had an association with some of those for a very long time.
Well, I'm playing the Bruch violin concerto, which I've been playing. I think it was in a Suzuki book when I was doing Suzuki between 2 and 5, somewhere in there. I played the last movement. Awfully, I'm sure. But no, it's a concerto that I really sort of grew up with, played it from a very young age, and it's been very interesting for me to sort of realise how my interpretation and how my take on it has changed over the years. I recorded it when I was, about 14.
So it was your first or second recording ever, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was my second one. I recorded it when I was 14, along with the third violin concerto. And it's such a wonderful piece to play. I've also done it many times with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And I'm really excited to be doing it with them again. They're such a wonderful group of people to play with, such wonderful musicians as well. And it's always great fun on stage with them. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing it.
I'll come back to the orchestra in a moment, because that's quite interesting. The relationship that a soloist has with an orchestra is quite important. But just going back to the Bruch for a few moments, what do you think has changed over time in the way that you interpret it?
I think that I'm very much more, of course I was always aware of the accompaniment before, you have to be really, but I think I've become much more aware of the intricacies within the accompaniment, so the moments where I have a duet with some of the orchestra, or the moment where I'm really just accompanying them. And it's a wonderful piece. It's quite unusual really with the linking of the movements, for example, very like the Mendelssohn in that case also. But it's also very unusual in the fact that it starts basically, the violin comes in virtually straight away. You have these 2 cadenzas before the main theme comes in. And for me also, the second movement it's a real gem. It's so incredibly beautiful, and it's really very melancholic as well. But it's just one of those moments where there's some really fantastic interplay between the soloist and the orchestra, and then the last movement is just great fun to play. It's so energetic and vivacious. And there's just so much dancing. There's also a beautiful lyrical passage, 2 beautiful lyrical passages within the last movement, which is fairly unusual as well. So the second subject is this really broad theme, and it's just fabulous to play.
It's very much had a much higher profile, hasn't it, more recently, as though people have been discovering it, and you've been playing it a lot more, I guess. Why do you think it was, I don't know if overlooked is the right word?
I think it has everything that you could want from a concerto. I think it has the singing, it has the beautiful singing lines, but it also has the virtuosity and sort of the energy behind it as well, which I think really appeals to people. And it's completely understandable as to why it's so popular, because it just has everything you could want.
Do you think you'll keep on learning about the piece? It'll keep on changing, no matter how many times you play. You'll keep on finding something new.
Absolutely. Well, I hope I will. That's certainly my aim. Every time I work with an orchestra, or a different orchestra, a different conductor, or indeed with an orchestra that I've worked with before, but with a conductor I haven't worked with them before, something new always seems to happen, and you'll hear something and think, oh, I haven't heard that bit like that, so what can I do to sort of use that as a springboard to do something different for me as well. And I always go back and I always restudy the score, and I always because I have played it so many times, I always try and go back to it as if it's a new piece. Of course I know it in my fingers and in my arms, but I always try and approach it as a new piece.
It's interesting you say you know it, it's under your fingers, as a pianist sometimes says. But does that mean there is a temptation to keep on playing it the same way, and you really do have to work? You have to be aware of what you're doing.
You certainly do have to be aware. I mean, it's in a way it's nice to know that you know it so well. But for me, I always want to try and find something new in it. I think it's very important to do that with pieces for me, it's very important to do that with pieces that I've played over and over again, just simply to keep it fresh.
Now, you mentioned the RPO, and you've played with them many times. How important is that relationship with the other musicians?
It's incredibly important. Actually, the Bruch was the first concerto I ever played with them. I think I was about 14 or 15, and it's incredibly. We've gone on tours. We've been to Shanghai, we've been to Azerbaijan, we've been to Turkey, And not only are they just wonderful, wonderful musicians, but they are just incredibly lovely people. And I often, will go out for dinner, or, they'll invite me out for dinner because they know otherwise I'll just stay and practice in my room all the time when I'm on tour. So it's really, really important to have that support. And I always know that I have that support, and just playing with friends.
Well, I guess there's another person in this relationship, isn't there? There's the conductor as well. Now, Nick Collin, you've worked with before.
Yes, absolutely. I've worked with him a few times over the years, and we've done the Brook before. So he's wonderful to work with, and very, very exciting. So it should be great. It should be great on stage.
I sort of want to know the power structure that's going on here. Are you telling Nick and the orchestra what to do? Is the orchestra and Nick trying to herd you around to doing something differently, or is it very collaborative?
It's very much a collaborative. It's, for me anyway, playing with an orchestra is like a very large form of chamber music. And I think sort of just having that connection and just sort of really being aware of everything that's going on around me, and sort of knowing exactly what's going on is very, very important. But it's very much collaborative. There's no, I would like it like this, so we're going to do it like that. If you see what I mean, it's very much sort of, well, what do you think about this, and shall we try this? And it's great. It's a wonderful way of making music.
So, for example, if you are approaching a concert like this, you'll be practicing for, as you say, you already know the piece, you've got it under your fingers. You'll be practicing a few days beforehand. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, I'm already because at the moment, especially, I've been incredibly busy with lots of different concerti. So I will practice certain moments of. I will practice, of course, the sort of the main concerti that I'm playing, but I also practice. I always try and look ahead 2, 3, 4 weeks. And well, also 2, 3, 4 months in advance as well. But when I know I've got sort of concerts in a patch, then I will prepare very, very well beforehand, and then I will sort of just pick out a few passages to sort of to keep going over of any concerto at any one time that I've got coming up.
But the amount of time that you actually spend with the orchestra must be quite limited in terms of refining how it's going to be on the night.
It varies. Sometimes it's an on-the-day rehearsal. Sometimes you have the opportunity to rehearse the day before. Sometimes you might even get 2 rehearsals. So it just varies.
So we've already said there are 3 people in the relationship. You've got the orchestra, yourself, and you've got the conductor. There's a 4th in the room as well. That's the audience, and that's crucial.
Absolutely crucial. I'm really excited to be going back to Northampton and to be playing the Brook there. Audiences are so vital, really, to everything, and to be able to have that energy to bounce off as well is wonderful. It's also a huge privilege that for me to be able to play music for the audience. So I feel very privileged to have the opportunity to do that.